Hey guys, welcome to this next YouTube video. Today we're going to talk about the key differences between playing an uphill putt and then playing a downhill putt. We're going to talk about what you need to think about when attacking each putt and how you should change your routine and your thought process when you're faced with an uphill putt or a downhill putt. Let's get into the video. So obviously, as I was saying in the intro, we need to talk about the key differences and the key differences in your thought process when faced with a downhill putt or an uphill putt. Now we're going to start with what we need to be mainly think about when we have a downhill putt. Now most people think downhill putts are a little bit tougher. That's obviously because you've got to be a bit more careful with your pace, because if you obviously hit it too hard, it's going to go by. But also downhill putts break more than uphill putts. The reason for that is because when we hit a downhill putt, even though it's a faster putt because it's downhill, we actually hit the putt softer. So then that means that the ball speed is going to be running a lot slower. When the ball speed's running a lot slower, that means there's more time for the slope to affect the putt. So that's mainly why people find downhill putts a little bit tougher, say, than uphill putts, because downhill putts break more. So let's hit this downhill putt now and just take note as to, because it's downhill, the ball's going to keep going for a little bit more as what it would if we have an uphill putt. So that's going to make it obviously a little bit tougher to adjust pace, just because we've got to factor in the last few rolls. And also because them last few rolls, the ball is going to be running at its slowest, because the ball's going to be slowing down, that's going to be when the slope's really going to affect the putt. So you can just see there, maybe I hit that a little bit too hard, but towards the end, that putt did try to actually miss left. I think if I hit that a little bit softer, then that putt is obviously going to break more. But even when it was going in at a fairly fast pace, it still broke quite a lot at the end. Obviously, that's because when the ball is going to be slowing down. So again, just because this putt is downhill, I've had to play it, say, an extra ball right of the hole. Even though it's not actually that much of a sloping putt, I've still had to play a little bit more break as to what I would do on an uphill putt. So then that goes back to one of our first points. Downhill putts compared to an uphill putt actually take longer for the ball to go in. So because there's a bit more time from when we make impact as to when the ball goes in the hole, we're going to have to take a little bit more care as to what we think the slope is going to do to the ball. That's another reason why, firstly, we need to understand that downhill putts break more than uphill putts. So then we need to ensure that we're aiming a little bit higher on them downhill putts. So as you can see here, we've got a similar length putt as to what we have for the downhill putt, but instead now we've got an uphill putt. So what we was talking about when we were speaking about the downhill putt is if you've got the same amount of slope from an uphill putt and a downhill putt, the downhill putt breaks more because the ball's going to be rolling slower, so the slope has more time to affect it. This then means that on an uphill putt, because we need to actually get the ball to the hole, we need to hit the ball harder. That's then going to mean that the ball's going to be running faster up the slope, which means the slope is actually going to affect it less. So the main challenge here on uphill putts, now we understand that we don't need to play much break. I can probably play a pretty straight putt here, compared to when it was downhill, I had to play, say, a ball outside. So now we understand the break. Now the next challenge, and probably the bigger challenge with uphill putts, is purely just getting the ball to the hole. There's quite a big difference as to how hard we need to hit the putt when it's downhill as compared when it's uphill. So our main challenge is just ensuring we give it enough power to actually get the ball there. As if the ball doesn't get to the hole, then we're obviously not going to hole it. So that's obviously our main challenge here. Hopefully you can notice when I hit this, I've got to hit it much harder to get the ball to the hole. You can see how it slows down quite quickly as well. And again, didn't really break much. So there you have it then. They're going to be the two main differences between an uphill putt and the downhill putt. The first difference is going to be how much break you need to play. Because a downhill putt, you're going to have to play more break. An uphill putt, you're going to have to play less break. And then secondly, pace. For a downhill putt, because it's quicker, you're not going to have to hit it as hard, so you're going to have to hit a downhill putt softer. Then when you move on to an uphill putt, you're going to have to hit it harder. So the main challenge with a downhill putt is the break, because you're going to have to factor in more break, so it makes the putt more difficult. And the main challenge with an uphill putt is the fact that it's uphill, so you're going to have to hit it harder. So it's just purely going to be getting the ball to the hole, which is going to be your main challenge. So I'd suggest, building on from this video, if you go onto your practice screen and practice some downhill putts and some uphill putts and have them thoughts in your mind, hopefully when you get into your pre-shot routine, you can start to think about these thoughts, and that's going to help you make the right decision when it comes to the brake you're going to put on the putt and the power you're going to put on the putt. Hopefully with them factors, that's going to allow you to then hole more putts as a whole. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Just want to say thank you again for the support. The last few videos have been performing quite well, so I just want to say thanks to everyone for watching and supporting. Gonna obviously keep pumping out these videos, try and switch up a little bit as well. So any content you'd like to see, please drop a comment in the comment section below, as I'm really enjoying the journey. And again, if you could like and subscribe, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.